This is McCook's Mr. Billson. Honored to have you here. This film is on Beyond Rape. Beyond Rape. The first rape story I tell is I was told when I was a kid by my grandmother. She said a young couple out of Iowa came out here to homestead, and they wanted to get in a real secluded area so that they'd have room to expand. Room to expand. So they hit Fort Kearny, and then they came out this way about 60 miles. It was north and east of McCook, quite some distance yet though. And they found a nice little creek to set up their homestead and start building. They got their sod house built. They got a good crop of corn in. And as the summer continued, he got sick though. And within just a few days he died. She weighed her options and decided she'd wait for the corn crop to harvest it, and then load that in the wagon and go to Fort Kearny and sell the team, the wagon, and that load of corn would get her enough money and have some left over to get her back to her family back in Iowa. Well, before she could get it harvested though, some Native Americans showed up, specifically Pawnee. Well, they took her in the sod house and they raped her. She said that there were 23 that raped her. And of course they didn't just rape her, they burnt the cornfield and loaded everything in the wagon that they wanted and took the team and the wagon and headed out, leaving her with just tattered clothing left. So she walked the 50 miles plus over there to Fort Kearny, told the commander of the fort, and he didn't believe her. He said, "You're too ugly for a man to want. Even an Indian wouldn't want you. You're so ugly." Well, no matter what he said, 9 months later she had a baby. And it definitely had Native American blood in it. And so she, however, got a job there and started washing clothes and cooking for some of the men. Made the best of it that she could, because she was too ashamed to go back east to her family. And she made a life for herself, did the best she could, and she helped that boy every way she could. And that boy became a man, and not just any man, he was special. He became an elected official in this state, and he did a lot of good for this state, because she got beyond rape. The second rape, well, I went to a birthday party of a man that was 75 years old some years back. And he had some friends there from Denver. And they happened, by chance, to sit beside me. Well, the woman had a heavy German accent. And so I asked her if she was from Germany, and she was. And I said, "Were you over there during the war?" And she said, "Yes, sir, she was." Okay. I said, "I'd sure like to hear your story, if you don't mind." And so this is the story she told. She said there were 5 in her family. I said 5. Father, mother, and then she had a brother, and then and then her sister. Well, it took, and when the war started, her brother and her father were both drafted into the Nazi army. It was no time at all. They were both killed. And so they, just the 3 left. And they lived in Berlin in an apartment. One of the bombing raids, they were hiding in the basement of the apartment building they were at, and a 500-pound bomb crashed through, clear to the basement, within 50 feet of them, and came to rest. But it didn't go off. A 500-pound bomb. She said if it had went off, they'd have been vaporized. She said that when the war ended, the Russians took Berlin. She said rape was rampant. She said the Russians busted into their apartment, and they took her mother, and she was 16 at the time, and her sister was 12, and she said all 3 were raped. She said about 50 men had her mother, and 50 men had her. But she said 3 times that had her sister. It seemed like the Russians wanted to rape that 12-year-old German girl a lot more than they wanted the other to rape the older women. Her sister was never the same. Be that as it may, that's what war is. evil, pure evil. After the ordeal, she then got her mother and her sister, and they got over to the American zone of Berlin. And there they fraternized with the troops. They were nice to the troops. They weren't supposed to be. It was against the law, but they were nice to them. And in no time, she found one of the American soldiers that liked her, and in fact fell in love with her. And so he sent her over here to America to stay with his family till he got out of the military service. And then he came back and he married her. And they tried to farm west McCook out here some distance. They couldn't make it in 2 years, so they gave up and they went to Denver. He was a good carpenter. He went out there and started a contracting company. And darned if it didn't explode, and everything he touched seemed to turn to gold. But she didn't just sit home. She got her a beauty academy, made how to train women to be beauticians. Plus she also had some of the beautician shops around. And she ended up, when she retired, a multi-millionaire. Just as her husband was a multi-millionaire in his business. And so she got beyond rape. She got beyond rape. So that is something that all of us could learn, that no matter what hits us in this life, and the evil and the darkness that comes upon us, we can climb back out of that evil and climb back up to life itself, and a life worth living, and show others and help others as much as you possibly can every day. This is McCook's Mr. Bill. Rate this film.